Changing ourselves changes the world. Ancient wisdom about lasting social change. Most people that I know would like the world to be kinder, more respectful, less violent, less full of fear, with less destruction of the earth. Many people work hard to create something better and different, but the harsh criticisms and judgments, disrespect, violence, pretense, and dishonesty remain in our society in strong measure. For the last 19 years, I've studied the Katasi tradition from the Eastern Andes of Peru. I have earned the designation of shaman in this tradition. Katasi means setting the world in balance, all of us working together to set the world in balance. The Katasi people have a long lineage of deep respect and relationship with Earth. I want to share with you today some of their ideas about making lasting social change. A core Katasi concept is their concept of self. In this tradition, they identify themselves as a feeling, the feeling we have when we are experiencing things like happiness, a sense of awe, curiosity, or excitement about being alive. When we explore our song, we find the truth about ourselves, our purpose in life, what's possible for humans in terms of knowledge and intimacy, and much more. The Katasi people poetically refer to this feeling of self as song. They know that nothing else is part of their true identity. Nothing. Not the comparing, judging, blaming, nor belittling. These are considered to be learned cultural behaviors, patterned responses. They call them mask. Mask beliefs also include the belief that force and violence are necessary, belief in doing things at the expense of self, others, and earth, and in speaking and acting to gain approval. The cords that connect us to these societal beliefs can be diminished over time, but eventually released from our system. In the Katasi tradition, they say that with each thought, spoken word, emotion, and action, we are creating our present lives and our future, microsecond to microsecond, like the rain, falling. Consciously or unconsciously, we create our world and vote for our social values. The opposite is also true. Our moment-to-moment thoughts are fed and nourished by our social values. Every thought, spoken or unspoken, they call a thought form. Thought forms broadcast the energy of our thoughts and the emotions that are attached to them. Our thought forms are instantaneously received by the people and places we are thinking or talking about. In the world of thought forms, like attracts like. For example, some people and groups of people have thoughts or spoken words about how wonderful organic food is. Those thoughts or words are broadcast out into the world and join up with other thought forms about the goodness of organic food. In this slide, then, the blue triangles represent the individual thought forms about organic food, and the caption shape the societal thought form. The more individuals think and speak a specific thought form, the bigger the societal thought form becomes. Some of our values here on earth have a great momentum. We've been feeding them for a very long time. Our societal values are created by the thought forms we most share in common and repeat most often with the greatest intensity. In our culture, we have been taught to be very scattered in our thinking. We allow one patterned response, a mask, to take control of our thinking, then another comes along that has a totally opposite point of view. And because it's present, we let it take control of our driver's seat. Then sometimes we think of thoughts as just appearing, randomly, without rhyme or reason. And we've learned to speak one set of thoughts while thinking to ourselves another set of thoughts. Let's say that person yellow walks up to person red, smiles, and says hello, and in their mind they start judging We've been trained to do this. And they say, gosh, it's great to see you. And silently they may be saying, gee, red is not a good color for you. You need a paint job. The energy and the emotion of both the spoken and unspoken thought forms reach person red. The issue here isn't whether the unspoken thoughts have validity or not, but what matters is, as we think and speak, we vote for our social values. In fact, many are taught that it is polite to keep secret the judgments as if they have no impact when they are silent. But judgments are motivated by a view of life that says our personal value and identity comes from how we measure up to others. We learn to look for opportunities to see ourselves as better than. Let's look at what social thought forms are fed in this example. There's the feeding of the social thought form of making a connection with someone. Hello, it's great to see you. Then the judgment not spoken. You need a new paint job. Then the less obvious but clearly present feeding of societal thought forms for living in a world where we gain our sense of value by making someone else less than, and for pretense and deception that is common in our society, yet taught as appropriate. The Katasi teachings don't consider thoughts to be random or out of the blue. Here is an example of one way thought forms get triggered in us. A man taking his kids and their friends to a party on the other side of town drops by the bank to get cash, and unknown to him, the person who was there a moment ago had a very angry encounter with the teller about an overdrawn account. The societal anger thought forms in the neighborhood gathered round to give their support. Some of these societal thought forms are still at the bank, feeding the frustration of the teller, or hanging around in the walls of the building. And the impact of the previous customer's anger thought forms still linger at the drive-through window. As the father pulls away, he remembers an incident from the day before and gets angry about it again. The societal thought forms at the bank have triggered his anger thought forms, those learned patterned responses of anger that he is carrying within him. These thought forms feed his anger each time he repeats the event in his mind. The cycle of feeding the personal and societal anger thought forms continues for him throughout the day. He finds himself impatient with the talking of the children and the driving of others. The rest of the day he's easily agitated. He keeps trying to figure out why his anger just appeared out of nowhere and has stayed with him. Fortunately, unlike us humans whose spirits are immortal, thought forms only live as long as we feed them. We do have choice. From the point of view of the Katasi tradition, the main distinction in our thinking is between thoughts that are based on song and thoughts that are based on mask. As Chea says in Cordell Whitaker's The Reluctant Shaman, you could say we have two kinds of motives, desires and fears. Desires for creating, communication, knowledge, pleasure, giving and receiving love, and challenge. None of these at the expense of others, self, or earth. These are song-filled motives. Then there is the motive of fear, fear of death, the unknown, or change, powerlessness, pain, loss, and failure. It is fear that generates hate and stress, distrust, guilt, and so forth. Each fear is the form of the other, and they are all a form of the fear of death. These are mask-filled motives. In the Katasi tradition, whose language has no word for judgment, condemnation, or hierarchy, they would not say that living from song is good and that living from mask is bad, but that each of these create different things, that living from mask takes things apart, makes things fall in on themselves, and that living from song creates continuance and is life-giving. One step toward changing our world is for us to become conscious of how each of our thoughts cast a vote for our social values. The most effective way to begin to grow an awareness of the difference between the thoughts that turn in on themselves and make things fall apart, and thoughts that create continuance, kindness, and accurate observation is to learn to love and accept our song, the truth about who we are, unconditionally. In the feeling of our song is held the knowledge of the gifts we were born with, the path we were born to walk, our way of communication with all other beings, our vastness, and so much more. The dismantling of our masked thought forms let us step out of the boxes that we've created for ourselves to live in. It lets us experience the amazing potential that we Earth humans have buried beneath our assumptions, expectations, judgments, and blind beliefs. The Katasi children grow up learning the power of being responsible for and choosing their every thought and emotion. As you can imagine, it would take great tenacity and commitment on our part to become aware of our every thought and word and the emotions that are attached to them. It takes commitment to choose life-giving thoughts and emotions when we've been trained that what is acceptable and what we need to do to survive is to think and act in terms of conditional love, and to pretend we can keep private the impact of the energy of our thoughts. Yet there is so much more value, creativity, expansion, and possibility in accurate expression than ever possible in the lies and pretense that our society is based in. And honesty begins with ourselves, by choosing to be willing to examine our thoughts and beliefs, searching for that distinction between song and mask, and learning to feed only our song, to vote for song-based values. What a different world this could be if we decided to choose to take control of our lives by taking control of our every thought and feeling. In fact, that is the Katasi definition of power, to be in control of where one's attention is, moment to moment. For them, waking up is about living from song, but choosing from moment to moment to live from the vastness of our song, to open our birthright of access to other dimensions and other beings. With our individual votes, we can choose to work together to create a world full of kindness. No more degrading institutions, no more blaming and shaming, no more pretense and lying, building together the promise of a brighter future for our children and our children's children, by choosing to make song be the basis of our social values. These teachings are a gift from the long lineage of elders of the Katasi people. This unbroken lineage is known to be at least 30,000 years old. My deep gratitude to all of them, and especially Cordell Whitaker, my teacher, and Chea and Domano Hetaka, Kay's teachers. My song gives me a deep sense of rootedness, of ever-expanding possibilities, and a sense of clarity about how to relate to myself and to the world that bring me increased closeness and intimacy. If this video has sparked a passion within you, or helped you touch again your hopes for yourself, family, community, and the generations to come, if you desire to stretch and experience beyond what you can now imagine, I invite you to come study with me as I lead you through ancient spiritual practice and ceremonies, to your song, and the teachings and initiations of the Katasi people. For more information, please join my website, receive information about Katasi teachings, individual sessions, and have the opportunity of meeting others interested in this path through classes and gatherings. thewavesofbalance.com